Have you ever found yourself in a situation where staying silent felt like the smartest choice? Maybe a family member made a decision without asking you, or someone underestimated you because of your age. You felt that urge to speak up, to remind them who you are. But instead, you said nothing. What? Here's a twist. What if choosing not to respond wasn't weakness, but strength? What if, in certain situations, pretending not to notice was a hidden strategy for protecting your peace and preserving your dignity? In today's video, we'll uncover 7 surprising situations where playing dumb can be the smartest move. These aren't just tips, they're powerful life strategies rooted in real-life experience. By the end, you'll discover how small, quiet acts of wisdom can transform your relationships, guard your happiness, and leave a lasting legacy. Trust me, stay with us. The final one might just change how you see everything. Now, you might be wondering, why would anyone choose to hold back or pretend to be less aware in certain situations? Isn't it better to assert yourself and make your voice heard? It's a fair question, and believe me, I've asked it too. But what if the true wisdom in life comes from knowing when to step back, when to observe rather than react, and when to let silence do the talking? Sometimes, not saying anything can reveal far more than a well-crafted argument. In this video, we'll explore 7 real-life situations where staying quiet, or even pretending not to notice, can protect your peace, strengthen relationships, and ultimately give you the upper hand. These moments are not about giving up, they're about rising above. You'll learn how to handle family conflicts with grace, protect yourself from unwanted criticism, and even navigate tricky situations like technology gaps or heated debates. Every situation we'll discuss is something you've likely experienced before, maybe even today. Stay with me because the final situation may just surprise you and challenge how you've handled things in the past. It's a perspective shift that could change everything. Ready to dive in? Let's begin. Have you ever had a family member make an important decision on your behalf without even asking for your input? Maybe it was about your health, finances, or even something as personal as your living arrangements. You found out after the fact, leaving you stunned, maybe even a little betrayed. It's easy to assume they did it because they don't trust you, or worse, because they think you're no longer capable of making your own decisions. That thought stings, doesn't it? After a lifetime of raising kids, building a home, and making countless sacrifices, you suddenly feel invisible, like your opinions no longer matter. But here's where the plot twist comes in. What if they didn't do it out of disrespect? What if, deep down, they were just afraid? Afraid of losing you. Afraid they won't know how to care for you if something goes wrong. Maybe they didn't ask for your input because they thought they were protecting you. The truth is, most decisions made without your consultation come from a place of love. Misguided love, perhaps, but love nonetheless. Understanding this doesn't make it any less painful, but it opens the door to a different response. You have 2 choices here. You can push back hard, demand control, and risk deepening the divide. Or you can pause, pretend not to notice the slight, and respond with grace and wisdom. This doesn't mean letting them walk all over you. It's about taking control of the conversation on your terms. Imagine this. Instead of reacting with anger, "Why didn't you ask me first?" You take a deep breath and say, "I see you're concerned about me, and I really appreciate that. Let's sit down and figure this out together." Suddenly, the dynamic shifts. What could have been a conflict turns into a collaborative moment, one where your voice is not just heard but respected. You've shown strength without raising your voice, and trust me, that kind of quiet power leaves an impression. Now, let me share a real-life story. A friend of mine, Mary, found herself in this exact situation. Her children decided, without telling her, that she should stop driving. They took away her car keys, saying it was for her safety. Furious, Mary wanted to demand them back immediately. Instead, she paused and listened to their fears. "I could have fought them on it," she told me, "but I realized they were scared for me, not trying to control me." We sat down, and I explained that I would agree to stop driving, but only after we found a reliable alternative together. By approaching the situation with calm authority, Mary regained control without a shouting match. Her children saw her wisdom and trusted her judgment even more. Here's the real kicker. Sometimes pretending to be okay with their decisions, at least temporarily, can work in your favor. It gives you the space to plan, reflect, and ultimately negotiate from a place of strength. When you're calm and centered, you hold the real power. So, the next time a family member makes a decision without asking you, ask yourself, is this worth a battle? Or is there a smarter way to handle it? Sometimes the best strategy is to step back, observe, and then act. Not every battle needs to be fought head-on. Sometimes the real victory lies in how you choose to respond. Have you ever felt the sting of being underestimated? Maybe it was a younger person explaining something obvious, as if you were hearing it for the first time. Perhaps a family member offered help with something you've done perfectly well on your own for years. Or a stranger assumed you didn't know how to use modern technology. You know the moment when someone looks at you and only sees your age, not your experience. It's frustrating, isn't it? After all, you've lived through more challenges, triumphs, and change than they can even imagine. You've mastered life in ways they'll never fully understand. So, what's the natural reaction? You want to prove them wrong, to remind them you're still sharp, capable, and independent. And sometimes that's exactly what you should do. But here's where the twist comes in. What if you let them underestimate you just for a while? Here's why. When someone assumes you're not capable, they often reveal far more about themselves than about you. Their assumptions reflect their own inexperience, biases, or limited perspective, not your reality. By staying calm and even playing along, you can turn their assumptions into an advantage. Picture this. A younger neighbor insists on showing you how to use a smartphone, explaining every little step as if you've never touched a touchscreen before. You could cut them off and say, "I've got it, thanks." Or you could smile and let them finish, thanking them for their help. Now, imagine their surprise later when they see you FaceTiming your grandkids, managing your finances online, and checking the news on the same device they thought you couldn't handle. The power of quiet competence is far greater than any defensive response. When you allow others to underestimate you, you create an opportunity for subtle but powerful moments of surprise. And trust me, those moments leave a lasting impression. Let me share another real-life story. John, a retired engineer, found himself constantly underestimated by his younger colleagues at a volunteer organization. They thought his ideas were outdated and politely dismissed his input. Instead of arguing, John bided his time. One day, during a technical problem no one could solve, John quietly suggested a solution. It worked instantly. His colleagues were stunned, and from that moment on, they treated him like the expert he always was. He didn't have to prove anything. With words, his actions spoke for him. Here's the thing, you don't always need to remind people of your abilities. Sometimes less is more. Let your actions speak. People will notice when the time is right, and the impact will be far greater than any explanation or correction. But here's a gentle warning, don't confuse this approach with surrender. This is about strategy, not passivity. You're choosing to stay in control by being calm, observant, and patient. In doing so, you maintain your dignity and remind yourself of your worth. The next time someone underestimates you, smile and remember, you've got nothing to prove. You've already proven it 100 times over. Let them learn the hard way, on your terms. Family, the greatest blessing and, at times, the greatest challenge. There's nothing quite like the warmth and connection of family. But let's be honest, no family is without its share of conflicts. Maybe it's a disagreement over old wounds that never seem to heal, or perhaps it's a clash of values between generations. What begins as a casual conversation can quickly spiral into a heated argument, leaving everyone hurt and frustrated. As an elder, you've often found yourself caught in the middle. People naturally look to you for guidance, or worse, to take sides. It can feel like walking a tightrope, balancing your love for everyone while trying to preserve the peace. The instinctive response? Jump in, offer your perspective, and try to resolve the conflict with your hard-earned wisdom. But here's where the twist comes in. Sometimes the best way to bring peace is not to intervene at all. Yes, it sounds counterintuitive, but stepping back, choosing not to engage, can be the most powerful move you make. When emotions are running high, your calm, quiet presence can act as a stabilizing force. Instead of fueling the fire, you become the steady anchor in the storm. Think about this. When the younger generation argues passionately about politics, parenting styles, or life choices, What happens if you gently detach? Instead of offering your opinion, you might say, "You all have such strong ideas. I'm confident you'll figure it out together." You haven't taken sides. You've acknowledged their emotions and handed the responsibility back to them. This creates space for the storm to pass on its own, without dragging you into unnecessary tension. Let me share a story. A friend of mine, Eleanor, experienced this firsthand. Her adult children were arguing over how to manage a family inheritance. The debate became so heated that Eleanor felt tempted to step in and settle it. But instead, she paused and said, "I trust you both to make a decision that honors our family." At first, her children were shocked. They expected her to take control. But her calm response gave them time to reflect. Eventually, they worked it out, without her needing to referee the situation. Here's what Eleanor told me later: "It was hard to stay silent, but it was the best decision I ever made. I protected my peace, and in the end, they respected me even more for trusting them." The truth is, not every argument is worth engaging in. Some are fleeting, while others feel all-consuming in the moment but fade with time. By choosing when to speak and when to stay quiet, you preserve not just your peace but your family's unity. And remember, detaching doesn't mean you don't care. Quite the opposite. It's a sign of profound love and wisdom. You've seen enough in life to know that what matters most is not winning an argument but keeping the bonds of family strong. So, next time a family argument breaks out, ask yourself, is my voice needed here? Or will my silence be the greater gift? Sometimes stepping back allows others to grow, and in the end, that's a gift only someone with your experience and wisdom can give. Let's face it, technology can feel like a completely different world. Just when you think you've got the hang of one device, something new comes along. Smartphones, apps, smart home gadgets, they all evolve at lightning speed. Sometimes, it feels impossible to keep up. But here's a question: how do you feel when technology stumps you? Do you shrug it off, or does it make you feel a little defeated? Maybe even a bit embarrassed? Here's the twist: not understanding something right away doesn't reflect on your intelligence. It's just a natural part of life today. You've lived through some of the greatest transformations in history, and every time you've adapted. Why should this be any different? Yet society often treats older adults as if they're incapable of learning new technology, which couldn't be further from the truth. Sure, there are moments of confusion, but there's also something else: opportunity. Imagine this: you're struggling to use a new app and ask your grandchild for help. Instead of feeling embarrassed, you turn the experience into a connection. "I've been trying to figure this out. Can you show me how?" Suddenly, it's no longer about the technology, it's about building a bond. Your grandchild lights up, feeling useful and important. What started as a challenge becomes a shared experience, a moment of laughter and learning. And here's the funny thing: sometimes pretending to be less familiar with technology can be a strategy. It opens the door for others to teach you, creating space for connection and even strengthening relationships. But what about those moments when technology truly stumps you? When you've read the manual, watched the tutorial, and still feel lost? Here's the key: embrace the mindset of curiosity, not frustration. Think of it this way: I've learned new things all my life. What's one more challenge? This perspective changes everything. It transforms a frustrating experience into an adventure. Take Barbara, for example. She was intimidated by her smart home system at first. Every time the lights wouldn't turn off, she'd get frustrated and blame herself. But one day she decided to approach it differently. She laughed, called her son for help, and turned it into a game. They figured it out together, and now Barbara teaches her friends how to set up their own smart homes. The plot twist here? Mastering technology isn't the real goal. It's about maintaining your independence and staying connected. Whether it's a video call with a loved one, looking up a recipe online, or streaming your favorite show, technology is simply a tool for enriching your life. You don't have to conquer every app or gadget. Instead, focus on the ones that bring joy and convenience to your daily routine. Let go of the pressure to keep up with everything, and give yourself permission to ask for help when needed. In doing so, you send a powerful message to yourself and those around you. You're never too old to learn, grow, and adapt. And in the process, you build stronger connections and experience life with curiosity and humor. So the next time technology leaves you scratching your head, take a breath and remind yourself, I've figured out tougher things before. This will be no different. We all make choices that reflect who we are, how we spend our time, what we eat, the hobbies we pursue, and even how we use our money. These choices are personal, shaped by a lifetime of experience. But no matter how thoughtful or intentional your decisions are, there's always someone who feels the need to criticize them. Maybe it's a friend raising an eyebrow at your new hobby, or a family member asking why you're spending your savings on travel instead of saving it for later. Their comments may be framed as concern, but deep down, it feels like judgment. And here's the hard part. When someone questions your choices, it can stir up doubts. Am I doing the right thing? Should I justify myself? But here's the twist. You don't owe anyone an explanation. Not for your choices. Not for your happiness. By this point in your life, you've earned the right to live unapologetically. You've walked through the ups and downs, learned countless lessons, and come out stronger for it. Your choices aren't random, they're rooted in who you are and what matters most to you. Let me tell you about Margaret. She was excited to take her dream trip to Italy, a bucket list adventure she'd been saving for. But when she shared her plans, a well-meaning relative said, "Shouldn't you be more careful with your money?" For a brief moment, Margaret questioned herself. Was she being reckless? But then she reminded herself of something important. Life is short and joy is worth investing in. So, she smiled and simply said, "I've thought it through. This trip will bring me more happiness than anything else." And it did. She came back with unforgettable memories and no regrets. The truth is, criticism often reflects the fears and insecurities of others, not the validity of your choices. People project their own worries onto you. They may not understand why you've chosen a particular path, but that's okay. They haven't lived your life. Sometimes, the best response to criticism is not a defense but a calm, confident smile. "Thanks for your input," you can say, "but I'm happy with my decision." When you respond this way, you take back your power. You're no longer defending yourself or trying to convince anyone. You're standing firm in your truth. Of course, there's another option that works wonders. Play along and shift the conversation. If someone criticizes your eating habits, you might chuckle and say, "Well, I guess I'll keep being a little rebellious." Then change the subject. By doing this, you protect your peace while gently steering the conversation in a new direction. You don't have to explain or justify anything, because you already know your choices are right for you. So, the next time someone criticizes your lifestyle, ask yourself, is their opinion worth my energy? Most of the time, the answer is no. You've earned the freedom to live your life your way. Don't give that up for anyone's approval. We live in a world where discussions about politics, religion, or deeply held beliefs can quickly become heated. What starts as a casual conversation can spiral into a full-blown argument, leaving hurt feelings and strained relationships in its wake. I'm sure you've seen it before, at family gatherings or among friends. Someone makes a passionate statement, another disagrees, and before you know it, voices are raised and no one is really listening anymore. The natural reaction? Jump in, share your perspective, and try to set the record straight. After all, your beliefs are built on decades of experience. You've lived through wars, social movements, and political shifts that younger generations only read about. You have wisdom to share. But here's the twist. Not every argument is worth winning. Sometimes, silence is the most powerful response. It's not about agreeing or giving up your beliefs. It's about preserving your peace and your relationships. You've seen enough to know that arguments rarely change minds in the heat of the moment. Instead, they often leave lasting wounds. Imagine you're sitting at a family dinner, and the younger generation is passionately debating the latest political issue. The conversation gets tense. Everyone looks to you, waiting for your opinion. Now, you could jump in and try to calm things down with your insights, but sometimes the best response is a calm, neutral one. "I admire how much you all care about this. It's inspiring to see such passion." What happens next? You've diffused the tension without taking sides. You've reminded them that it's okay to care deeply without turning it into a fight. Let me share a story. Tom, a retired teacher, found himself caught in a heated family debate about politics. He knew he could argue his point well, but instead he said, "It's fascinating how each generation sees the world differently. What matters most is that we care about making it better." His family paused. The debate softened. Tom later told me, "That moment could have driven a wedge between us, but by stepping back, I kept our connection intact." Sometimes the real strength lies in knowing when to disengage. Silence doesn't mean indifference. It means you're wise enough to choose peace over chaos. Of course, there are moments when your voice is needed, when sharing your perspective can bring clarity and compassion. The key is to know the difference. If the discussion feels like a genuine exchange of ideas, speak your truth calmly. But if it's a battle of egos, step back. And here's the beauty of this approach. When you choose your words carefully, they carry more weight. People are more likely to listen when they know you don't speak just to be heard, you speak to bring something meaningful to the conversation. So, the next time an argument arises, ask yourself, is this about connection or control? If it's the latter, gently disengage. Preserve your peace. The world has enough noise, you don't have to add to it. In the end, it's not about being right. It's about keeping the bonds of love and respect strong. That's a lesson only life's experience can teach. Kindness is one of the greatest gifts we can give. It's a trait you've likely cultivated over the years, helping friends, supporting family, and offering a shoulder to lean on when someone needed it most. But here's the hard truth. Kindness can also make you a target. Not everyone sees your generosity as a gift. Some see it as an opportunity. A pushy salesperson, a distant relative with a sudden financial emergency, or even a friend with hidden motives, all might try to take advantage of your good heart. You've probably been in situations like this before. They start with subtle pressure, "Oh, it's just a small favor," or "I wouldn't ask if it wasn't urgent." You feel conflicted. Part of you wants to help, but another part feels uneasy. Here's where the twist comes in. You don't have to say yes right away. In fact, pausing and appearing unsure is one of the most powerful tools you have. The next time someone pressures you to act, whether it's donating to a cause, investing in something, or lending money, try this simple phrase, "I'm not sure I fully understand. Let me think about it." That one sentence can be a shield. It buys you time to assess the situation, consult someone you trust, or simply listen to your instincts. And trust me, your instincts are rarely wrong. Let me share a story. My friend Edward, a retired accountant, received a call from an old acquaintance asking him to invest in a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. The pressure was intense. You have to act fast or you'll miss out. Edward's first reaction was to decline outright, but instead he said, "I'll need a few days to think it over." During that time, he did some digging and discovered that the opportunity wasn't as golden as it seemed. "I'm so glad I waited," he told me. "If I'd rushed in, I would have lost a lot of money." Here's the key takeaway. You're not being deceptive by pausing, you're being wise. Taking time to reflect is not weakness, it's a sign of strength. It shows you value your resources, both emotional and financial, and won't give them away lightly. There's nothing wrong with appearing a little unsure. In fact, it can reveal a lot about the other person's true intentions. Someone with genuine care for your well-being will respect your need for time. But those with hidden motives, they'll get impatient. And that's your clue. Think of kindness like a precious resource. It's not something to be handed out indiscriminately. It should be given intentionally to those who truly appreciate it. Of course, this doesn't mean closing yourself off or refusing to help others. It means being discerning. Ask yourself, does this person truly need my help, or are they taking advantage of my good nature? When you protect your kindness, it becomes even more powerful. You give from a place of abundance, not obligation. And when you do that, your generosity becomes a gift that nourishes both you and those who receive it. So, the next time someone pushes you for a quick decision, remember, you have every right to pause, reflect, and protect your peace. It's not about withholding kindness, it's about giving it with purpose. In the end, your kindness is a treasure. Guard it carefully and share it wisely. As we've seen, true wisdom often lies in knowing when to speak and when to stay silent, when to act and when to pause. These 7 situations aren't about giving up or pretending to be less than you are. They're about protecting your peace, strengthening your relationships, and living life on your terms. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Which situation resonated with you the most? Have you ever chosen to step back in a moment of tension or quietly surprise someone who underestimated you? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you found these lessons helpful, don't keep them to yourself. Like the video, share it with someone who needs to hear this, and make sure you're subscribed with notifications turned on. Together, we can keep learning, growing, and living with purpose and grace. Remember, your journey isn't about proving anything to the world. It's about living authentically and finding joy in the simple, quiet moments. Thank you for joining me today. Until next time, stay wise, stay kind, and take care of yourself.